What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and in today's video we're going to be building an awesome RTX 3060 Ti gaming PC build. In this video, I'm going to run you through all the parts that I chose and why, and there's a few surprise choices in there, put this system together from start right through to finish, and also delve into its performance, see just how well it stacks up in the latest AAA titles. I'm talking Apex Legends, the brand new Call of Duty Warzone map, Valorant, and of course Fortnite. Let's kick this build off as always by installing as many components into the motherboard, the first of which being the CPU. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice this is an Intel motherboard. This is a B560 board, which feels like a really bad choice in 2021, but hold your horses. The latest 11th gen releases were on the whole not that great, but the 11400F is a diamond in the rough. It's a CPU that you really shouldn't overlook. Coming in at around about $170 but for latest pricing and availability, check the link in the cards section now. It's actually a lot cheaper than pretty much any Ryzen 5 option out there, yet still gives you some good performance with 6 cores, 12 threads, and all in all a really power efficient package. We're still fans of the new Ryzen 5 5600X. In fact, it's a fantastic option. But at around $130 more expensive, it's just a little bit overkill for today's system. After we've installed the CPU, the RAM is the next logical component to sort of really come next. This is a 16GB kit of Corsair's Vengeance RGB Pro. Two 8GB DIMMs give us some nice dual channel performance gains, while a 3000 MHz speed out of the box is more than enough for our Intel chip. AMD CPUs are a lot more picky about the RAM that you have to select. Intel, not so much. The white choice as well is also going to pay dividends later, as you guys will see with our really nice white case choice. Next up then, that brings us nicely on to the M.2 SSD drive, or the storage. Now picking an SSD in 2021 is quite difficult. Boards like this now support fast Gen 4 drives, but they're really expensive, another $100 compared to a drive like this. Plus with speeds in the region here of 3 gigabytes per second, you don't really need to go that much quicker. And this drive also features a little bit of RGB. Of course, what that means when we go ahead and remove the M.2 heatsink is that we will leave it off because there's not enough room for it to fit on and we wouldn't want to hide the RGB lighting. XPG have covered the cooling off nicely, so the motherboard's assistance is not quite required. Coolio, so the drive is in place, colour scheme already starting to come together with the silver and whites, and that brings us nicely on next up to the CPU cooler. I am actually a little bit worried that it might be kind of too tall with the RAM, so we will need to check that, but provisionally I've gone for Deepcool's AS500. This is a really nice cooler from Deepcool with some RGB up top and comes in at a really respectable price point. If you're after a budget build, Deepcool is definitely a brand I'd go and check out, and I'll link their stuff down in the description below. Panic stations can stand down. It does indeed fit, no problem. If we had a 4th RAM DIMM slot in here, we could have some issues, but otherwise, because the fan and the radiator are quite low profile, we shouldn't really have any problems. First things first, the backplate is going to go on, and then we're going to take these screws that have a female thread on one side and a male thread on the other, and they're just going to screw down on top of those 4 backplate posts. And then from there, it's pretty simple. We're just going to pop these silver brackets on, secure these into place with the included thumb screws to make sure the brackets don't wobble and go anywhere, and then the cooler itself fastens into place. It's a super simple install on this Deepcool AS500. With the cooler nicely installed, we can go ahead and move it into the case. And this is actually a brand new chassis to the market from XPG called the Starker. Now this is really interesting. It's got a bit of RGB, a nice bit of ventilation, but to be completely honest, it's a budget oriented case. CPU cooler headroom is good, and you've got plenty of room for even the biggest GPUs out there, which we'll see with our Gaming X Trio in a moment's time. Let's go ahead and take this XPG case out of its box though and move the motherboard over. Okay, not too bad. I'm liking the look of that actually. There's a nice power supply shield, bit of the XPG gaming logo, tempered glass, some fans included as standard, and then around the front is actually a magnetic panel that's really actually surprisingly heavy. with some dust filtered intake as well. So all in all, this kind of reminds me of one of their other white cases, which I did a build in a couple of years ago now. So go ahead and check that one out if you want a bit of a GeekaWhat throwback video to watch on whatever day this goes up. Let's go ahead and remove the side panels though, make the case that little bit easier to access, and then we can install the motherboard. Side panels are included as standard. This is a tempered glass panel as well, and it's a full height, full width, fairly thick panel. So no cost savings have been made here by XPG, which is what we like to see. There we go, front and rear panels taken off. The case looks a bit more of a shell at this point, but we'll make it easy to install the motherboard. Now this motherboard actually has the rear I/O shield built in as standard, which makes the next step a little bit easier. This isn't an in-depth tutorial, but if you'd like to see our how to build a gaming PC video, go and check that out in the cards section now. All we're going to do is simply slide the motherboard onto the corresponding standoff, screw it in and secure it down into place. And with that, the motherboard and motherboard assembly is basically complete. With the motherboard in, it's finally time to install the graphics card. Now this is the MSI RTX 3060 Ti Gaming X Trio. Bit of a mouthful. The 3060 Ti from Nvidia is my favourite card of the year. Full stop. Now I know GPUs at the moment, especially 3000 series, are really hard to get your hands on. But probably for good reason. These cards have proved to be more powerful than anyone ever expected. And when you combine that with a crypto mining boom, it's no surprise these things are out of stock. I just really hope the situation gets better. The 3060 Ti is a fantastic card though, as you can see from some of the performance numbers that we got on your screen now. At 1080p, high settings and 1440p as well, you get some great FPS numbers in the latest AAA titles. And although MSI's Gaming X Trio card is a little bit on the overkill end, it does keep GPU temperatures really nice and low, though any 3060 Ti you can get your hands on is what I'd personally buy. In specific titles like Apex Legends, we got some fantastic results too. 163 FPS on average to be precise, with 147 and 132 for the 90 and 99th percentile results at 1080p high settings. The GTA 5 inbuilt benchmarking mode at 1080p high was also really good, 137 FPS on average here. As if that wasn't enough, the latest update of Call of Duty with the new map and DLSS 2.0 was also a great experience, with 127 FPS on average to be precise. But what about Cyberpunk, a game that pushes every card to the max, especially our 3060 Ti? While at 1440p medium settings with ray tracing off, we got 65 FPS on average, with 60 and 53 for the 90 and the 99th percentile results. Not out of this world, but still not awful. The final game in our focus list today is of course Fortnite, and here at 1080p competitive settings, with everything tuned down to low but the render distance set to far, we got a staggering 222 FPS. That's enough I think of performance though. A quick reminder, if you'd like to see the full unedited gaming benchmark runs, they'll all be in a playlist in the cards section now on our benchmarking YouTube channel. But let's go ahead and get the GPU installed. In order to figure out which of the rear PCIe brackets we actually need to remove, we're going to hover the card over the top PCIe lane. That's going to show us really nice and easily that it's the top two PCIe slots we need to remove. So let's go ahead and take those out, but keep the screws safe, as we'll use these to secure the GPU into place in just a moment's time. And here we go. Let's go ahead and slide that GPU into the top PCIe slot. It's a little bit tight, but it will fit, don't you worry. And it is in and looking pretty good actually. The size of the GPU helps to really fill our case out, and it'll look even better once we've got all those power cables in and the side panels on. Go ahead and secure the GPU down, and then we can finally take a look at the power supply. And with the card in, it brings us on to the final component of the build today, the power supply. This is brand new from XPG, and it's called the Pylon. Seriously? It's actually called the Pylon. I don't know what that means in other countries, but in this country, a pylon looks like this, which makes sense. It's electrical. It's just a bit of a weird name for a power supply. This is a 650 watt 80 plus bronze unit. It's really nicely built, packaged, and comes with some good warranties as well, which is what you want from a power supply. You've got a little bit of headroom as well, so you're not pushing things too far, and with some black sleeved cables, it's going to look perfectly nice in today's system. Let's go ahead and screw the power supply and get it installed plug all the cables up, and then put the side panels on so we can boot this machine up and see just how good it looks when it's all powered up. And there's only one way to find out what this system looks like here on the GeekaWhat channel, and that's in an epic glam montage to round the video out. Thank you very much for watching though, but roll the montage.